So, hello again. Ngayon, ang topic natin is yung Constitution. Well, palagi natin siya naririnig nowadays. Even so, parang somehow disconnected tayo kung ano ba talaga yung Constitution. Parang hindi natin siya ramdam. Kasi all these times, tinitake for granted natin siya. So, let's delve into it. So, maglilid tayo dun sa 1987 Constitution, pero try natin munang i-define ano ba yung Constitution in the first place. So, in Constitution, there are two types, written at saka unwritten. So, a Constitution in a nutshell, parang sinasabi niya, ano ba yung dapat na arrangement ng people, ng government, and together as a state, including yung territories, paano mo ba i-assert yung sovereignty mo, and nga, parang ano ba yung rights mo as a person, yun yung mga na-establish doon. So, meron ngang written and unwritten. So, yung ating constitution is a type of a written constitution. If you're gonna look upon, kung gustong maghanap kung anong klase yung unwritten na constitution, unwritten constitution kasi parang tradition siya na naipasa. Parang alam na ng mga tao, based sa common knowledge, na ganito yung setup ng government, ganito yung arrangement na ito yung dapat ginagawa ng sangay ng gobyerno to, then ito dapat yung ginagawa ng sangay ng gobyerno to, itong official na to, ganito yung ginagawa niya, itong official na to, ito yung ginagawa niya. So, norms na siya, parang na-establish, nag-blend na siya into society. So, yun yung unwritten na constitution. So, coming in terms nga doon sa unwritten constitution, doon mo rin makikita bakit nagkakaroon tayo ng constitution in the first place. Dati kasi, there's this thing called divine rights. So, yung authority, sinasabi, as monarchs claim, na nagre-reside dun sa, parang bestowed by a divine being. So, binigay daw ng Diyos, pinagkaloob ng Diyos. Siyempre, nowadays, hindi na ganong bumibenta yung ganong klaseng So, karamihan sa ating mga monarchies, from absolute monarchy, naging constitutional monarchy na lang. So, yung mga monarchs, basically figureheads na lang sila, pero hindi na sila yung mainly nagpapatakbo ng government, and hindi na rin sila yung mainly nagbibigay ng nag-i-impose ng decisions upon the people. So, yun yung katumbas. So, yung divine right na yun, parang doon nagbumula yung authority. In this case, yung authority nagmumula sa ating constitution. So, in speaking about authority, parang we have to discuss a little bit about power. So, power and authority, parang basically the same thing. So, si power, it's more of an informal na definition. Si authority is formal, si power is somehow informal. So, parang diba, there's this thing, pinower trip. So, ano ba yung ibig sabihin nun? Parang ginamit mo yung kapangyarihan mo para mag-impose na hindi mo dapat to gawin, or parang ma-bypass yung some of the procedures. So, power tripping yung tawag doon. And hindi nga siya formal, parang nasa informal na setting. So, ano pa ba yung mga klaseng power? Authority naman. So, sa authority, parents, for example, yung mga rules na binibigay nila sa bahay, parang somehow sinusunod mo kasi parang somehow authority figure sila, parang naka-ingrain na sa ating mga norms and traditions na sila dapat yung initially nasusunod sa mga bagay-bagay. So, yung authority and power, in terms of government, looking back sa history, maraming cases, maraming times na nagiging tragic yung ending ng mga monarchs, yung nagiging tyrants yung iba, so nagkakos ng suffering among the people. And meron ngang famous na kasabihan si Aristotle na power tends to corrupt and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So, dapat hindi mag-concentrate yung power para maging less yung tendency to be corrupted. So, papasok ngayon yung concept ng separation of powers. So, powers are mainly separated into three. So, there's this thing called Executive Department, Legislative Department, and Judiciary Department. So, halimbawa mayroong batas, given yung batas. Kung ikaw na yung gagawa ng batas, ikaw na yung nag-implement ng batas, ikaw pa yung huhusga whether nilalabag nila yung batas. Di ba? Parang too much of a power. Pwede mong abusuhin yun. So, kailangan paghiwa-hiwalayin mo yung mga bagay na yun. So, magsisimula yung batas in the Legislative Department. Sila yung, syempre, maggagawa sila ng mga bills, etc. etc. Then, kung meron kasing sa Legislative Department, meron kasing unicameral at saka bicameral. Pag unicameral, ibig sabihin, isang house lang siya. So, in this case, parliament. Then, dun na nila na pagdedesisyonan. Yung vote na yon, basically, parang they propose laws, in-interpolate nila yung mga laws, then pagbobotohan nila whether ibibigay nila sa, i-hand over na nila to the executive department para ma-implement yung law. Pag bicameral naman, siyempre sa atin, katulad ng sa atin, there's this House of Representatives and there's this thing called Senate. So, kailangan pareho, kung gusto mong maging batas, yung isang bill, kailangan merong House bill, tas meron ding Senate bill. Then, yun nga, yung recently nga nangyari dun sa anti-terrorism bill, karoon ng third and final reading on which nireconcile yung version ni House, yung version ng bill na final ni House, at saka yung version ng bill na final ni Senate. And then ngayon, nasa kamay na ni Duterte whether i-implement siya or hindi. So, sa Executive Department, siya yung nag-i-implement ng law. Siya yung nag-i-enforce ng law. So, yun nga, now, medyo mahaba yung kung natin yung Executive Department, which itatakal natin later. Si Judiciary naman, siya yung nag-adjudicate whether nagkasala nga ba yung tao against dun sa law na yun. Then siya rin yung maglalatag ng parang somehow humane na parusa, humane na punishment in accordance dun sa law na ini-implement ni executive at ginawa ni legislative. So, mapunta na tayo sa Constitution. Ang unang Constitution na nagawa is 1897, after Tejeros Convention. Parang sa Tejeros Convention, inabolish na yung Katipunan, then in-establish na yung Philippines as a republic. Then, soon, nung nasa Biak na Bato na sila, merong ginawang ginawang document na nag-serve as constitution, si Isabelo Artacho. So, parang dating vice president ni Aguinaldo noon, that time. Yun yung sa Biak na Bato Constitution. Maraming mga signatories, famous mga kilalang mga signatories is si Mamerto Natividad, nandun din si Goyon, isa rin siya sa pumirma, and yun nga yung mga sin pa nga to, Artemio Ricarte, yun yung mga pumirma nun so basically kung sino yung nasa Biak ng Bato, sila yung pumirma dun sa constitution na yun. And ang accusation nga, given yung pagiging opportunistic ni Artacho, especially nung nasa Hong Kong sila, parang naging na-dilute yung kanyang contribution sa history. Then kasi parang somehow parang pina-plagiarize nyo sa Cuban Constitution yung ating Constitution, etc. etc. And pagdating nga sa Hong Kong, nagkaroon sila ng pagtatalo paano ba nila paghahatian yung pondo, yung binigay na truce money ni Governor General Fernando Primo de Rivera. Then fast forward, dumating tayo sa 1898, inorganize ni Aguinaldo yung Malolos Congress. Ang initial na plano with Malolos Congress is to gather yung support from the upper Filipino elite. Kaso fearing yung might ng military, gusto nila ma-level out yung play. So, apart yung ang unang mga inenak nila dun sa Malolos Congress is yung national budget and national loan para magkaroon ng pondo doon sa government. So, sa national loan na yon, since yung mga mayayaman na Filipino yung nag-provide, edi nagkaroon sila ngayon ng power within dun sa government. Now, nagkaroon sila ng power within the government, pinangunahan ni na Pedro Paterno yung pagtatayo paggawa ng panibagong constitution. So, tatlo yung nagsabit ng constitution. Si Mabini, si Paterno, at saka si Calderon. Then, eventually, yung kay Calderon yung na-adapt na draft. Then, mga pinagdedebatean na lang nila noon yung separation of church and state. Then, it all rounds up nung 1899 nung na-establish yung First Philippine Republic. Doon din na-enact yung mismong constitution na yon. So, some say na yun na yung best constitution that we had. Pero syempre, others argue na parang sign yun ng pagiging opportunistic ng mga Filipino elites that time. So, fast forward, ang naging law na implement over the Philippines that time, nung panahon na ng mga Amerikano, is yung Jones Law. Then, fast forward ulit, 1934, nagkaroon ng Constitutional Convention, on which, nag-lead dun sa 1935 Philippine Constitution. So, from 1935 to 1972, 73, syempre, January 1973, so, parang ayaw ko nang i-count as part ng, basically parang suspended na yung constitution that time. Up to 1972, with the exception ng period between 1942 to 1945, on which sinuspend ng mga Hapon yung 1935 Constitution, then naglagay sila ng Philippine Constitution Committee, then nagdraft sila ng Constitution leading to the 1943 Constitution, and yun nga yung Second Philippine Republic under Jose P. Laurel. Then naibalik siya 1945. Then fast forward, Ferdinand Marcos 1965, first term okay naman. Pagdating ng second term, parang lumalabas na yung hints ng corruption, yung ostentation, yung spending so parang basically unpopular na si Marcos to the people nung 1970s. Mga kilos protesta, yung first quarter storm. Then ngayon, tinatry niya i-field si Imelda sa elections, parang isasaksid daw. Pero hindi talaga mabango yung pangalan ni Imelda at that time. So, syempre may limit nga, term limit. Sa 1935 Constitution, may limit kasi, term limit yung president. Up to 2 terms lang. 2 4-year na terms. Then, wala na. So, wala nang kawala. Parang gusto pa nilang mag-hold sa power. So, in turn, nagpatawag sila ng Constitutional Convention. Alam ko, 1970 nagsimula yung poll. Nagkaroon ng botohan sa House. Then sa Senate, close yung botohan. 12-11 yung score. Nagpatawag na nga ng Constitutional Convention. Initially, si Carlos P. Garcia yung president ng convention. Kaso namatay siya bigla. Pumalit sa kanya si Diosdado Macapagal. Then, ayun nga, during nung hearing, may mga parang nagkaroon ng crackdown among the delegates. Pero fast forward na lang, culminated dun sa parang ultimately ginamit ni Marcos itong part ng 1935 Constitution, yung Section 11, then Paragraph 2, Article 7, Section 11, Paragraph 2, the President shall be Commander-in-Chief of all. Fast forward, he may call out such armed forces to prevent, suppress lawless violence, invasion, insurrection, or rebellion, or imminent danger thereof. So, ginamit niya yung martial law para isuspend lahat ng institutions, including yung Congress. Plus, through the Citizens Assembly, which deemed nga na somehow invalid according nga as decision nga ng Supreme Court, yung Havellana versus Executive Secretary noong 1973. Kaso parang despite na sinabi nila na hindi naman tama. So kasi sa Constitution, para ma-implement siya throughout the land, yun nga pala, kailangan siyang i-ratify. So given nga na under martial law yung Philippines, parang dinim ni Marcos na hindi dapat instead na secret ballot, para mabilisan yung paggawa ng pag-ratify ng Constitution, then to ensure daw yung safety ng mga citizens, nag-organize na lang sila ng mga Citizens Assembly kung saan nagtaasan na lang ng kamay kung boboto o hindi. Sino ba maniniwala sa ganung bagay? So yun yung dinim ng Supreme Court na hindi siya validly ratified kasi hindi naman nakapag-cast talaga ng legitimate na vote yung tao, and pwedeng sobrang susceptible to falsehood. Even so, the Supreme Court under Chief Justice Roberto Concepcion deemed it parang unstoppable pa rin yung implementation ng 1973 Constitution. So basically, ang transition kasi during martial law, si Marcos yung president, then acting prime minister. Then under the 1973 Philippine Constitution, then throughout the martial law years, merong 6 na amendments na ginawa. Then supposedly president lang si Marcos, so executive. Then given na wala tayong Congress, siya rin yung nag-act as as legislator. So yun yung isa sa mga amendments niya na parang since suspended yung Congress, pwede siya mag-legislate. Then kahit may Congress, pwede din siya mag-legislate through his presidential decrees, etc. etc. Then mostly ng mga siguro yung 3 o 4 na amendments na in-implement niya sa Constitution, siya lang mismo yung nag-draft nun, and siya yung nag-legislate and siya yung nag-implement. So among nga nun, karoon ng 2 parliaments. Then typically nga, ang setup ng parliament, there's this prime minister or chancellor. Then yung chancellor or prime minister is elected by the delegates in the parliament. Since walang delegates nga ng parliament, automatic nga na si Marcos yung naging prime minister. Pero there's this thing called vote of no confidence. So pwede mong pwedeng pag hindi na confident yung mga delegates, mga parliamentarians dun sa kanilang prime minister, pwede silang mag-cast ng vote of no confidence, then mag-e-elect sila ng panibagong prime minister. So yun yung isa sa mga amendments na binigay ni Marcos, na pwede niyang i-dissolve yung parliament, pero yung parliament hindi siya pwedeng tanggalin through a vote of no confidence. Yun yung isa sa Then yung 4th is basically, alam ko, yung pag-convene ng Batasang Pambansa noong 1978. Pero basically, parang ang gumagawa pa rin ng batas that time, si Marcos. And then yung huling 2, if I remember correctly, yung amendment number 5 or 6 is yung paglalagay ng amendment number 3 pala yung batasan. Amendment number 4 is yung parang pagbabago within the ranks sa 1973 Constitution. Kung titingnan natin, scan natin, ito na yung nadagdag dun sa isa sa mga amendments. So nagkaroon na ng basically dati ceremonial lang yung yung duties ng president. Ang main ang nag-head ng executive department is the prime minister. Pero at this time, siya na rin yung chief executive dun sa isa sa mga amendments ng Constitution. This was enacted around 1980. So 1981 nagkaroon ng elections. Then landslide daw yung panalo ni Marcos noon. Then ayun nga yung mga sections 1, 2, and 3. And yun nga, sinasabi ng karon ng elections every June. Dati dun sa original na document, hindi yun yung chief executive, head of state lang yung president. So binabago niya at will yung constitution that time. So yun nga, medyo nag-boil down na rin, nag-water down na rin yung powers ng prime minister at saka ng kanyang cabinet, kasi basically parang yung president yung nag-a-appoint. So hindi na si parliament yung nag-a-appoint ng mga pero members pa rin ng Batasang Pambansa. So yun yung katumbas, yung ngayong Batasang Pambansa, yung dating kinalalagyan ng ating ng parliament natin. So yun yung tawag, Batasang Pambansa, tawag sa ating parliament dati. Ngayon nga, pipili nga si Marcos among sa mga delegates doon kung sino yung magiging member and mga ministers, plus magiging prime minister ng kanyang kabinete. So during his time, siguro from 1973 to 1981, siya yung president and prime minister. Then 1981 to 1986, isa sa mga technocrat niya, si Cesar Virata, yung naging prime minister niya. So parang siya yung nag-work behind, siya yung gumagawa ng hard work, pero si Marcos yung gumagawa ng mga decisions. So ganun yung setup nun. Ayun nga, yung Batasang Pambansa, legislative power shall be vested in Batasang Pambansa. So more than 200 members. So 1978 nag-convene ito. Isa sa mga kilalang partidong tumakbo dito is yung Partido Demokratiko Filipino or PDP. Then dinikit nga dun sa laban ni Cory, so PDP laban. So yung PDP laban na yun yung political party ni na Duterte, ni na Cayetano. Ang tindi na ng niregress ng partidong iyon. Kawawa naman si Nene Pimentel. Si Aquilino Pimentel Jr. yung founding. Siya yung nag-establish ng PDP that time, 1978. So 6 years nga yung kanilang term, ng mga members ng Batasang Pambansa. Then ayun nga, in terms ng pagiging prone to abuse ng powers, yung parang yung constitutional authoritarianism ni Marcos. So sinasabi, 'di ba? 1973 to 1981. 1972 to 1981. So ganung katagal, 7 years yung martial law. So 7 years, 7 months. And sinasabi nila na nag-end na daw yung martial law na yon that time nung nilift nung 1981. Pero actually hindi, kasi parang it was lifted by name but contingent in nature. Bakit? Ito yung isa sa mga presidential decrees, yung mga laws na inanak ni Marcos over the lands. Ito yung parang pwede natin maitumbas sa anti-terror na law, parang tamang hinala na law. Ito yung pinakaunang tamang hinala na law. So, Presidential Decree number 1737, an act providing for the preservation of public order and the protection of individual rights and liberties during periods of emergency and exercise of extraordinary executive powers. So, fast forward, parang sinasabi kasi na merong imminent threat daw ng disestablishment. Then, syempre, may threat daw ng rebellion. So, same na rationale na ginamit niya for martial law. So, fast forward dun sa section 2. He may issue such orders as he may deem necessary to meet an emergency, including but not limited to preventive detention. So, fast forward ulit, acting in a manner prejudicial to national security. So, anong nakakabahala rito sa part na to? So, first yung prejudicial. So, hindi mo pa establish, parang may hinala ka pa lang, na parang pinaghihinalaan mo pa lang, pwede ka nang mabigyan ng preventative detention. So, hindi mo pag ginagawa yung crime, kung kutob ni Marcos na gagawin mo yung crime, pwede ka na niyang ipakulong. So, ganong level ng abuse yung nag-arise dito sa power na to. So, yun yung kinakatakot ng mga tao. So, pwede na lang sabihin na, oops, terorista ka. E di, kulong ka. Ganong level ng enabling yung binigay ng anti-terror bill sa sa executive department, which yung nakakabahala, which is also reminiscent nitong presidential decree number 1737. Syempre, meron din namang sukdulan yung pagtitiis ng mga tao. Kahit na yung mga Pilipino noted na resilient, syempre kung talaga nagdudusa na, hanapin na nila na someday, somewhere, ma-realize nila kung sino ba yung source ng kanilang pagdurusa. Hindi naman sila habang buhay na inaapi lang. Sina Rizal and Bonifacio nag-rise up against sa abuses ng mga Spaniards. Nung panahon ng mga Hapon, sina Jose Pallanes Escoda, yung nakikita nyo sa $1,000 bill, sila rin, parang hindi na rin nila natiis yung parang hindi nila kinondone yung abuses committed by the Japanese that time. And now, yun nga, hindi na rin natiis ng mga tao. So, nag-lead nga sa 1986, EDSA People Power Revolution. And medyo complicated na topic siya. Siguro, I'll save it for later. So, fast forward a year later, sinuspend yung 1973 Constitution pala nung 1986. Nung year 1986, nag-establish ng revolutionary government. Then, para mag-normalize na yung mga bagay-bagay, nag-issue na ng decree si President Aquino that time to organize and convene a national constitutional convention 1987. So ito nga siya, 1986 pala. So ang nag-preside nga si Doy Laurel. Then yun nga yung mga kilalang framers, si dating Chief Justice Hilario Davide, sina Christian Monsod, and mga kilalang human rights lawyers. So marami na sila, from merely kakaunti na pages, siguro mga 10 pages lang yung ating 1935 Constitution, nawin na sa more than 37 pages. So humaba-haba, parang the 1987 Constitution is one of the longest written constitutions in the world. Bakit nila ginawa yun? Parang ang dami nilang safeguards na nilagay para hindi na maulit yung abuse ng power. As long as sinusunod mo tong constitution, ma-ensure mo na wala kang makikitang abusado. Well, sadly, syempre, hindi naman nasusunod kahit nga yung mismong nasa people in power yung lumalabag. And ngayon, since absent-minded yung mga tao, wala silang kamalay-malay na all this time nasa kanila yung kapangyarihan, nasa kanila yung mandate. Up to this day, naabuso pa rin ng mga nasa kapangyarihan yan. So, natin, ito na mismong constitution. So, may preamble, Article 1, Article 2, Article 3, Article 4, Article 5, Article 6, 7, and hindi lang pala 30 plus, 67 pages. Oh my goodness, maling-mali yung ko. So, up to Article 18. So, discuss lang natin pa isa-isa, tingnan natin. So, si preamble, basically parang sinasabi niya kung ano yung spirit ng ating constitution. Article 1 tells kung ano yung makakount natin, definition natin ng national territory. Then Article 2, yung mga state policies, in general, state policies na i-implement. Yung Article 3 is yung Bill of Rights, so kung ano yung karapatan, universal na karapatan mo as a human being. Article 4 is citizenship, paano ka makakount as a Filipino citizen. Article 5 is suffrage, so ano ba yung legal age ata, if I read it correctly. Okay, tama nga. So yung pagiging botante mo. Article 7 Article 6 details yung duties, yung powers and responsibilities ng executive department. Article 7 sa executive department, judicial department sa Article 8, Article 9 yung civil service, parang kung ano yung mga uh, ano to, independent na commissions outside dun sa tatlong outside ng tatlong main branches. So yung mga local government units sa Article 10, then yung public officers, kung ano ba yung accountability nila, then yung about sa patrimony and sa economy sa Article 12, then human rights Article, so yung commonly minamalit na term, human rights, nasa Article 13. Then paano ba yung education, science and technology, arts and culture and sports, and Article 14, yung sa family, Article 15, etc. etc. So focus muna tayo dito. Preamble. So ito yung madalas na pinamemorize sa mga constitution class. Well, honestly, ako kahit na pol sci major ako, hindi, parang sinelf-study ko na lang to. Hindi ako naka-attend or hindi ako nakapag-enroll na noon dun sa mga constitution classes kasi nag-shift na ako to civil engineering that time. So, we the sovereign people, imploring the aid of Almighty God, in order to build a just and humane society and establish a government that shall embody our ideals and aspirations, promote the common good, conserve and develop our patrimony, and secure to ourselves our prosperity, the blessings of our posterity, the blessings of independence and democracy under the rule of law and a regime of truth, justice, freedom, love, equality, and peace. Do ordain and promulgate this Constitution. So, kung gusto natin ng adherence sa truth, justice, freedom, love, equality, and peace, we should see to ourselves na yung Constitution na to ay nasusunod. Well, let's look up man now na susunod ba talaga siya. Are we living in a regime of truth when the government itself is giving out lies? Are we really seeing justice when there's a lot of injustices and abuses in power everywhere? Kasi nakikita mo na ang hustisya ay para lang sa mayayaman. Nakikita ba natin ang ating mga kalayaan? Malaya ba natin na nasasabi ng ating mga hinaing? Nakikita ba natin ng isang lipunang nagmamahal sa lipunang nag-condemn ng mga tao na sinasabi na wala na silang pag-asa sa buhay? Puro hatred, puro divisions. Totoo bang na-achieve natin yung equality, even nga yung privileges na naranasan ng mga mayaman, na yung mga mahihirap na sinasabing lumalabag sa batas ay sure na nakukulong? Pero kung mayaman o ang may kapangyarihan ang lumabag, sila ba ay nabibigyan din ng karampatang parusa na nararanasan ng mga mahihirap? And peace, meron ba talagang kapayapaan under sa regime ito? Yun lang yung tanong. So, yung constitution na to, basically, pag nasusunod siya, and if we adhere to the principles ng constitution na to, we will see to ourselves that we can see a regime of truth, freedom, justice, love, equality, and peace. Pero since unaware tayo dito, and we're seeing the opposite of it. So, yun nga, fast forward na lang tayo. Siyempre, mahaba-habang debate about doon. So, Article 1, national territory. So, ano ba, dinedefine nito kung ano yung ating national territory. So, Philippine Archipelago. So, ano ba yung mga domain? Ano ba yung masasabi mong teritoryo? Hindi lang naman lupa, hindi lang naman dagat, hindi lang naman din hangin, hindi, kasama rin yung kailaliman ng lupa, yung mga continental shelves, yung mga submarine areas, yung mga so ayan, pwede mong masabi na part ng ating national territory. Bakit natin ina-establish yung national territory? Kasi nandun yung ating soberanya. soberanya telling us na, or telling us yung jurisdiction natin, ibig sabihin, kung parte ito ng ating teritoryo, pwede nating pagyamanin yung yaman nito, extract yung yaman nito, pakinabangan ng yaman nito. Sa atin lang to. Yun yung basically yung sinasabi ng soberanya. Now, we have exclusive rights sa teritoryo to. Well, yun yung pagkakaintindi ko. Siyempre, ko-correct din ako eventually. Well, welcome naman ako i-correct ng mga nakapag-aral talaga ng Constitution. Ako, ini-skim ko lang. Then, siyempre, tinatry ko rin kung ano yung understanding ko rito. So, Article 2, so yung principles and policies ng state. Yun lang, dinidictate niya ron. So, Section 1 says that Philippines is a democratic and a republican state. Sovereignty resides in the people and the government authority resides from them. So, democratic, ibig sabihin majority rule. Republican state, ibig sabihin hindi nagko-concentrate sa isang power. Yung, hindi nagko-concentrate sa isang tao yung power. So, we are a republic, not a monarchy. So, yun ang meaning ng republic. So, sovereignty. So, yung power, basically, hirap din define nito. Parang nakalimutan ko na yung Paul Side days ko. So, yung sovereignty, along yung power, basically nagre-reside sa people. So, yung people, sa kanilang kapangyarihan, sila nag-e-elect ng government. Sila yung nag-e-elect ng mga officials within government. And may karapatan sila. They have the every right, yung mga tao, na nag-elect doon sa mga government officials to have those government officials accountable to them. So, Section 2, given yung ating recent war on drugs, so basically parang naging national policy natin yung war on drugs, and parang somehow nagko-contradict dito sa virtue ng Section 2. And yun nga, basically parang tinutukoy dito is international war. So, fighting with other nations, yung tinutukoy. So, nire-renounce pero hindi pinagbabawalan. So, basically, pag na-reach ng sukdulan, up to that, diplomacy lang, diplomacy. Parang hindi naman automatic na makikipaggera tayo once na nag-engage tayo into conflicts with other countries. Especially kapag kino-contest natin yung mga lands na supposedly sa atin. Diplomacy dapat. So, international relations, parang last resort na yung war. So, basically, yun yung sinasabi ni Section 2. So, hindi automatic na, kailangan natin ipaglaban to. Gusto mo makipaggera na lang? Hindi. Pwede natin ipaglaban using diplomacy. So, kasi nga, nag-a-adhere tayo dun sa policy ng peace, equality, justice, freedom, cooperation, and amity with all nations. Hindi wala tayong supposedly gusto nating i-maintain, pero if merong bumabasta sa atin na bansa, kailangan natin ipaglaban yung ating mga sarili. Hindi na lang parang tahol, digong, tahol. Ay, hindi. Sorry. Tahol, goyo, tahol. So, Section 3 says that civilian authority. So, yun, pakilinawan please. Ito yung hindi naintindihan hanggang ngayon ng ating kapulisan at ng ating sandatahan. Na civilian authority at all times is supreme over the military. Ito yung isa sa mga naidagdag of post-martial law na mas lamang ang civilian authority. Mas lamang ang mga tao. Hindi mo pwedeng gamitin yung military as a tool for suppression ng civilians. So, dinidictate din dito, parang ito yung isa sa goal. Ano ba yung tinatanong nga, anong difference ng armed forces sa police sa Philippine National Police, or at that time Philippine Constabulary? Si Armed Forces of the Philippines is the protector of the people and the state. So, people and the state. So, its goal is to secure the sovereignty of the state and the integrity of the national territory. Well, hopefully, nasusunod ba to? Yun yung tanong. Section 4. So, ito yung nakakalimutan palaging virtue. So, the prime duty of the government is to serve and protect the people. The government may call upon the people to defend the state, and in fulfillment thereof, all citizens may be required under conditions provided by law to render personal, military, or civil service. So, ayun nga, parang basically sinasabi na yung duty ng government is to serve, hindi pasunurin yung tao. Serve, sila yung naglilingkod, hindi sila yung nagdidikta. And yung second sentence basically says na kung gusto mong maging involved sa government or kung gusto mong mag-contribute in defending the state, kailangan mag-render ka, magbigay, para masabi mo na fruitful kang citizen, mag-render ka ng service, whether it's personal, military, or civil. So, section 5. Susunod din ba to? Sige. The maintenance of peace and order, the protection of life, liberty, and property, and the promotion of the general welfare are essential for the enjoyment by all of the people of the blessings of democracy. By all the people of the blessings of democracy. So, ito yung mga must na kailangan ma-provide ng government to the people. So, promotion of general welfare. Kailangan. So, yung life, maproteksyonan mo yung buhay, hindi mo isasantabi, hindi mo pwedeng sabihin na collateral damage. Papahalagan mo yung buhay, papahalagan mo yung kalayaan, papahalagan mo ang pagmamay-ari ng mga tao, hindi mo pwede basta i-seize. So basically yun yung sinasabi ng section 2, article 2, section 5, and it will be further detailed sa section 3. Ayun ko matatapos ko to ngayong sa video na to. Section 6, so kinary over lang yung mga past virtues. Separation of church and state shall be inviolable. So ano ba sinasabi nito? Parang si state basically wala dapat state religion. Yun yung main na virtue ng separation of church and state. Then hindi ganong mag-interfere si state sa teachings ng church. Parang wala, hindi sila hindi ganun dapat yung outreach ng government. But if in case na yung church mismo ang lumalabag dun sa laws ng state, then hindi siya counted as part ng Article 2, Section 6. Section 7. The state shall pursue an independent foreign policy. In its relations with other states, the paramount consideration shall be national sovereignty, territorial integrity, national interest, and the right to self-determination. Well, sa mga gustong mag-aral ng Constitution dyan, or kung gusto ba nilang malaman kung ano ba talagang dapat ginagawa ng gobyerno ngayon, well, please refer to Article 2, Section 7. Section 8. The Philippines, consistent with the national interests, adopts and pursues a policy of freedom from nuclear weapons in its territory. So, kasi syempre Cold War era din to. So meron ng nuclear arms race. So parang dinim nilang necessary na to ensure na hindi sila maipit sa ganung klaseng conflict, and to advocate din syempre na kasi somehow inhumane, kinentreat as inhumane yung nuclear weapons and somehow apocalyptic. So to prevent such apocalypse from happening, meron silang dapat mag-adapt sila according sa 1997 Constitution, dapat mag-adapt ng policy on which hindi nila ina-advocate yung ending nuclear weapons within sa territory ng Philippines. So, Section 9, the state shall promote a just and dynamic social order that will ensure the prosperity and independence of the nation and free the people from poverty through policies that provide social services, provide full employment, a rising standard of living, and an improved quality of life for. Well, yun nga, kung gusto mong i-evaluate yung administration na to and the past administrations, you should look whether yung the state under their administration did just that. So, marami bang mga napalaya from poverty? Nagpo-prosper ba ang lipunan? Independent ba ang bansang ito? Dynamic ba ang ating social order? O nananatili pa rin na sila lang nasa taas at tayo lang nasa baba? Nag-i-improve ba ang ating standard of living? Nag-i-improve ba ang ating quality of life? So, itanong mo yan sa estado. Kasi pananagutan nila iyan sa'yo. Section 10. The state shall promote social justice in all phases of national development. So, medyo somehow vague, di ba, yung social justice. So, in defining yung social justice, tingnan natin yung isa sa mismo yung landmark definition ni Jose P. Laurel. So, ako na magsa-search. Kasi as an associate justice, ang pinenyang decision is one of siya yung nagbigay ng clear na definition kung ano yung social justice. So, and this phrase, social justice is neither communism, nor despotism, nor atomism, nor anarchy, but the humanization of laws and the equalization of the social and economic forces of the state, so that justice in its rational and objectively secular conception may at least be approximate. Social justice means the promotion of welfare of all the people, the adoption by the government of measures calculated to ensure economic stability of all competent elements of society, through the maintenance of proper economic and social equilibrium in the interpellations of the members of the community, constitutionally through the adoption of the measures legally justifiable, or extra-constitutionally through the exercise of powers underlying the existence of all governments on a time-honored principle of salus po. So, tingnan natin. The welfare of the people is the supreme law. Yun yung tinutukoy yata dito. Dun sa Latin na word na yun. Social justice thereof must be founded on the recognition of the necessity of interdependence among diverse units, of a society, and of the protection that should be equally and evenly extended to all groups as a combined force in our social and economic life, consistent with the fundamental and paramount objective of the state of promoting the health, comfort, and quiet of all persons, and bringing out the greatest good to the greatest number. So, in a nutshell, parang sinasabi na yung social justice is making use of the law for the general welfare of the people. Hindi dapat ginagamit yung law bilang tool for oppression. Ang law should instead promote the law, the Constitution, along with the state, shall promote social justice in all phases. Sa kanilang goal on their mission for national development. So, Section 11. So, ano siya, medyo somehow bittersweet na basahin kasi ito yung madalas na na-overlook and hindi naman nasusunod. ng administrasyong ito. The state values the dignity of every human person and guarantees full respect for human rights. So, marami tayong given nga. Hirap din kasi maraming mga instances on which tinatapakan natin yung dignidad ng ibang tao sa kanilang mga ipinaglalaban. Parang sinasabi mo, yun nga, given nga na uso nating gawin yung reductionism na kahit na napaka-diverse and napaka multidimensional ang tao, ibabrand mo lang siya into a single word na aktivista, terorista, o kaya pasaway, mga ganon. So, hindi dapat ganon yung attitude ng government to every human person. Instead, dapat igalang nila yung kanilang dignidad and in recognition nga na pantay-pantay yung karapatan and they should enjoy their human rights, their rights as a human being. So section 12. So this is about the family. So it recognizes the state recognizes the sanctity of family life and shall protect and strengthen the family as a basic autonomous social institution. It shall equally protect the life of the mother and the life of unborn from conception. So, itong sa part na to, dito nagkakaroon ng, discussing this further, maglilid tayo dun sa mga abortion laws. Kasi nga, ito yung tinatry nilang i-argue na, dito nag-ano yung mga polemic and debates, whether magiging constitutional or hindi. Syempre, there's this thing called caring after the women's body. Well, on the other hand, meron naman pinanghahawakan natin yung sanctity ng human life. So, sobrang gray area ito, and up to this day raging yung debate, and I won't be persuading you to take sides kasi nga hindi dapat ako mag-decide for them. It's their, Section 13. The state recognizes the vital role of the youth in nation building and shall promote their physical, moral, spiritual, intellectual, and social well-being. It shall inculcate in the youth patriotism and nationalism and encourage their involvement in civic and public affairs. So, if you're really reading the Constitution itself is saying na welcome ang mga kabataan na makibagay at makilahok sa mga gawaing sibiko at publiko. So, ang kanilang mga hinaing sa pagbo-voice out ng kanilang mga complaints sa kanilang nakikita tungkol sa lipunan, ang pagbo-voice out, kanilang involvement sa ganung mga bagay ay welcome dapat. Hindi dapat sila hinihinder, nasasabihin na bata-bata mo pa, wala ka pang alam. Well, the state itself, according to the Constitution, encourages and should encourage kabataan to do just that. So, Section 14, the state recognizes the role of women in nation building and shall ensure the fundamental equality before the law of women and men. So, equality. Section 15, the state shall protect and promote the right of health of the people and instill health consciousness among them. Ginagawa ba nila ngayon yan? Well, hoping going there, pero syempre may mga somehow makikita mo na somehow skewed yung priorities na nako-compromise itong part na to. Section 16, the state shall protect and advance the right of the people to a balanced and healthful ecology in accordance with the rhythm and the harmony of nature. So, hindi tayo basta-basta pwede magputol ng puno. Kailangan nating balansehin. Kasi yung environment kailangan nating pahalagahan. Section 17. So, a state shall give priority to education, science and technology, arts, culture, and sports to foster patriotism and nationalism, accelerate social progress, and promote total human liberation and development. So, looking at the current affairs, nagagawa ba ng Estado to ngayon? Nasusunod ba ang virtue ng Constitution according to Section 17? Well, hindi kasi I cannot give you an answer, and instead you should look for the answer upon yourselves. Kayong tumingin sa paligid kung napaprioritize mang edukasyon, kung nagkakaroon ba ng development, naliliberate mang tao, nagde-develop mang tao. Section 18. So, this is in recognition sa mga labor rights movements nung martial law period and even before that. So, ina-affirm lang nila, syempre, pinapasok na nila sa Constitution yung labor as a primary social economic force. So, the state shall protect the rights of the workers and promote their welfare. So, napopromote ba? So, asking, in looking back to the past administrations and even to these current administrations, napopromote ba nila yung rights ng workers? Napopromote ba nila ang kanilang welfare? It's up to you to answer. Section 19. The state shall develop a self-reliant and independent national economy effectively controlled by Filipinos. Bakit ko ini-emphasize to? Well, foreign ownership. Ngayon, di ba, parang ina-allow na nila yung foreign entities na manghimasok sa ating ekonomiya. Well, dapat Filipinos ang nagko-control sa ekonomiya. Hindi tayo pasunod-sunod sa whims ng mga foreign entities. Yun yung virtue ni Section 19. Well, let me ask sa mga nakaraang administrasyon and even to this current administration, in part in checking whether, not in whether, so in checking whether sa pag-evaluate pala, in evaluating yung legacy ng bawat administrations, nasunod din ba nila ito? So, si Article 2, basically, yun yung checklist mo throughout kung nagagawa ba ng administrasyon yung dapat nilang trabaho. Section 20, the state recognizes the indispensable role of the private sector and encourages private enterprise and provides incentives to needed investments. So, ito yung part ng fiscal policy. So, parang give rise to the fiscal policies. Well, syempre, in-encourage din nila yung private individuals to participate in the market. Though, syempre, hindi rin naman, dapat walang hegemony, walang dominance ng private sector somehow. Na-encourage dapat. Section 21, the state shall promote comprehensive rural development and agrarian reform. So, ayun nga, kaya nag-give rise ito sa Department of Agrarian Reform. Well, na-check ba natin? Nade-develop na yung mga rural areas? Kakaroon ba ng agrarian reform? Nadidistribute ba yung mga lands to the rightful farmers? Let's just ask that. Not only to this current administration but also to the past administrations. Section 22. The state recognizes and promotes the rights of indigenous cultural communities within the framework of national unity and development. So, yung mga indigenous people, yung mga taong nauna pa sa atin, mga taong nag-uphold pa ng mga values even before the Spaniards came. So, syempre, we should respect them, treat them as equals, and also hindi natin dapat impose ang ating norms towards them kasi sila ay may mga traditions and cultures to preserve. Parang part ng ating inclusivity iyon, ng ating move to inclusivity. So, Section 23, the state shall encourage non-governmental, community-based, or sectoral organizations that promote the welfare of the nation. So, may mga NGOs nga tayo ngayon na-encourage. Well, ayoko nang mag-discuss ng gano'n dyan kasi sobrang complex na topic yan. Section 24, the state recognizes the vital role of communication and information in nation building. So, yun nga, so kailangan informed palagi. Nako-communicate palagi. Yun dapat ang role and job na nagagawa ng state and the administrations that handle the state. Dapat nagagawa nila palagi. Section 25, the state shall ensure the autonomy of local governments. So, meron tayong national government, meron tayong local government. So, hindi dapat mina-micromanage ng national government yung affairs ng local government. So, merong somehow autonomy yung local governments. Section 26, haba pala nito. The state shall guarantee equal access to opportunities for public service. Hindi nasusunod ito. Joke. Prohibit political dynasties as may be defined by law. So, ilan yung mga political dynasties na nakikita nyo? And kayo rin ata ang nag-encourage nun. Well, hindi naman ako nag-generalize. Pero syempre, maraming mga political families as now na nak-entrench pa rin sa power. So, depende na rin sa mga voters talaga. Na kanino ang pananagutan? Hindi ko rin pwedeng i-pinpoint kasi both the political families and the voting populace are at fault here. Section 27, the state shall maintain honesty and integrity in the public service and take positive and effective measures against graft and corruption. Honest ba ang gobyerno natin ngayon? Honest ba ang mga nakaraang administrations noon? Merong bang integridad ang gobyerno ngayon? Merong bang integridad ang mga gobyerno ngayon? Ano ba ang kanilang stance against graft and corruption? And gaano nila ito napagtugumpuyan? So, in evaluating yung legacies ng mga administrations na nagdaan, we should look upon Section 27 as a voter, whether kung gusto mong pang i-continue ito. Kung dapat mong bigyan ng continuity pala. Kung ganito. If in case na nilabag na naman yung Section 26, so yun yung pang-check mo. Section 27, honest ba sila? Honest? Letter H. May integridad ba sila? Hindi ba sila corrupt? Last is Section 28. Ito na naman yung hindi sa nasusunod. Mario Joseph. Subject to reasonable conditions prescribed by law, the state adopts and implements a policy of public disclosure of all its transactions involving public interest. So, dapat na di-disclose kung ikaw ay public official. Kung ikaw din ay yung lahat ng transactions within the state na di-disclose dapat kung ano yung nangyari, kung kung saan napupunta, kanino napupunta. Parang alam, hinihint ko na agad na may corruption. Kung saan napupunta yung mga pondong ito, na spend ba siya na maayos, dapat ini-inform ng state to the people kung anong nangyayari sa kanilang mga taxes and sa powers na kanilang binibigay. So, part to ng accountability ng state towards the people. Well, so now, dyan muna. Medyo mahaba-haba to, 67 pages pala. So that's all.